Alrighty, it's the recap that we do daily for the trading here on this Thursday, the 31st of March, last day of the month of this month of March in 2022. To Christ be the glory, as always. Let's get over dollar volume on the day just for reference. NASDAQ $218 billion volume, NYSE $314 billion volume, OTC's $1.7 billion volume on the day. We are 37 minutes after the close here. Took a lot of stabs on some decent opportunities out there and definitely got more into the shorting realm, of course, paper, because for how my account's set up right now, not able to short with my margin account. But shorting paper-wise on a lot of these first screen day movers and just looking at that as a potential another alternative and different perspective to realign myself and awaken my senses to say, hey, where is there actual opportunity? Where are there good risk-reward trades? Where is there a playbook trade in here in this market that is active and very much alive that I am just missing? So just keeping a little bit of that bias today going in with some of these first screen day movers. Just kind of testing that morning spike thesis and trying to be involved in that and get more reps under my belt in that arena. And yeah, I wrote in my introduction here that I just want to bring up a little bit again of how that just fits into my own psyche as a trader. Of obviously that the specific strategy of trying to pick a top when shorting into a morning spike, or just top picking in general of being a short, is sometimes offers incredible reward, and being able to perfectly nail the top or just right a few cents close to it and watching it just fall and collapse underneath you and have an awesome immediate trade after that point feels very good to talk about. But of course, one thing differently to talk about it than to actually do it. But then again, of like how many times I not messed up, but was a part of stocks like that today, of finding tops, but then eventually getting stopped out at a new high of day and just continually taking those tolls over and over again. There's the way to get around that and never actually covering your position and just continuing to sell into further and further tops, which I know many people do and sometimes can work out quite successfully, but of cutting losses quickly and maintaining that perspective of cutting losers when they need to be cut and not trying to force more out of a trade that is actually there, and actually going with the flow of what the chart is actually saying compared to being hindered or chained to the perspective that I already have in form of a position on that chart. Got to maintain that discipline of understanding all perspectives on the chart and the reality of what the chart is actually saying and screaming in my face at times versus what I just believe should be there based on, of course, what my position is at the time in that, if that makes sense. This is what I wrote in my journal there for today. I freaking ran out of cash to trade for how many times I was getting in and out. Taking a little bit bigger size, bigger swings on the individual trades for the positions and specific entries that I thought were going to offer some nice opportunity. We'll get into those specifically on the individual tickers. Not a lot of other guru activity in the afternoon, but a lot of short interest on the MLU end by a lot of guys during the morning for that little second day play. I'll just pull that one up quickly. For how it moved very nicely during just post lunch session there in the afternoon. They're closing very nicely. After hours perking still. Pre-market selling off a little bit from that area, having another short spike to short into after a little dip from morning open. But lots of variables I think to go into this one. I'd love to see. Of course, it's just one thing to read all those guys' entries and trying to compare the candles for when they say specifically in the chat of when they were getting long or short, blah, 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 covering wherever. But of seeing their actual trades and when they're pushing that button, when those things are going off, to see how they are handling this and going through the realities of, sometimes you're just going to get stopped out to new highs and it's just going to go a lot farther. I think Jackaroo even too, of his ideology of he thought the top was already put in during this pre-market and a lot more room, and a lot further than his initial risk of, I think even 3.2ish, 3.3ish was his max stopping point that he said it was looking for. And if I read that correctly, I remember right, to see how he deals with that specifically and for the size he was taking on it, and just even for the other guys, so how they were able to look at it. Very intrigued and interested in that type of trade and why just so many people were involved in this one when, necessarily I didn't have the most keen eye on this one. I thought there was other opportunities out there that offered some better percentage moves on the day, but certainly this trade was an opportune price mover. And then I just want to mention Jack short on Tesla. He's got a huge 3 million short position on Tesla. Absolutely insane. Of course, it's easy to say, it's up too much. It's just gone straight vertical. But, so has the entire stock market for all of history. Why would you not just say that every single day? Of course, it's selling off 1%, 1.5% day in the red today. But that's Tesla is the stock market, right? So why would you not just be also getting short the market in itself. But yeah, lots of different perspectives. Again, I come to this day specifically and really all daily trading recaps of just trying to present everything that I was doing on the day and not trying to force any conclusions right now or just based off of specific trades today, because my brain is only as wise as I am today. And I know in the future, when I watch these videos back and I look at all the factors that I was seeing and I'm laying out every detail that I was pursuing on the day, then I can look back from a completely objective standpoint and say, okay, wow, you were identifying that greatly, or like you missed a huge piece of the puzzle right there. And that's glad you weren't trying to just for the sake of, oh, it's being put on YouTube and trying to appease to all 2 of my fans out there that it's, it's having to sound smart in a sense, but just of laying out the facts and letting it be what it be and learning from it along the way. That's especially what I'm going to strive to do today and with all of these videos that I do going forward too. So starting in with CLVS, man, this one was a lot different than I thought it was going to be for the initial morning spike that it had. Played it long, initially came in, just like I mentioned in the introduction, with a lot of heavy short bias in mind, of not really being so keen in on trying to play for any dip and rips. But on this one, certainly, LGVN, not so much. I was actually pretty long bias on LGVN, but CLVS of maintaining, hey, let's watch for a spike to short into. Let's see if we can find any topping areas or just any areas that look like they could be a fade potential, whether that becomes like a little scalpy-ish trade of it just gets a nice little pullback to VWAP area or region. We're not looking for the absolute most hard sell-off panic on the day, but just an area of, okay, here's backside on an parabolic morning spike chart there. Those can be very nice risk-reward opportunities there if you can pick it correctly and if you can kind of manage your way through that. Hammers dropping everywhere around you as the little mouse running across this little cheese field. But regardless, played it long with 200 shares, getting in at 230 off this little consolidation a little bit before that 9:45 time frame, but it was just too good of a hold there. And I'll get into LGVN, the same thing too, of that. It was just so good, like just almost too good to be true, and it ended up being so. A little bit in that, but holding pretty nicely, a little bit of sell-off recovery, not so crazy. Accelerating immediately to VWAP to suggest that it was just like a preemptive or pre-ejaculatory recovery, and that was really all the steam it had. It bounced and just didn't die off and continue. It fell and didn't really just continue to die off from there. And sure enough, it just started to build and accumulate some steam. So that was a very nice, reading the level 2 time and sales of saying, okay, I think it's holding very nicely. Obviously, I would like to get it closer to 225 for a fill. But we'll take what we can get. Okay, we're building enough. Let's get a 2-3 entry here. We're just going to have 225 little area. And giving ourselves just that much more enough room of slippage if it does start to pick up speed and break to a new low of day at 222. But sure enough, within that next minute candle, has a nice spike to the upside of VWAP and to that 2.4 range. That becomes a very nice little move. And it's for what I took it for of 3.4%. I'm not going to say that's even a single or beautiful in any regards, but this correlates very specifically. What immediately came to my mind was that NAOV chart yesterday of what it did on that 2-legged little run up of finding this little dip and rip range. Of course, this was a little bit different of how that had a little fake out on that range, but of taking it in blocks like this, of understanding, okay, I see one trade potential here as it had the little fake out rejection doji candle here at this point. Beautiful little up move push here in 1 minute, in the span of 1 minute, to this price range. Yeah, you can nitpick yourself and try to get a few more cents here and there, but that is the bulk of the move. And that's what I got with CLVS, not trying to force more out of it than was there and saying, okay, I'm selling into strength. This was the move and the price action that I was expecting to see. It could go higher than this, but I'm going to let it develop into another trade in itself if it's going to do that, similar to how NAOV did it yesterday too, of how it consolidated above that VWAP mark and tested new highs, but failed to really ever sell off harder from there. And sure enough, my risk reward could have been dialed into the same effect of getting anywhere just under 1.2 and risking 1.16, 1.17 here, just short of VWAP at that point to allow it to either continue on that second leg like it did or to sell off and be the only move for there. I would certainly take that trade again. That's what I tried to do on CLVS, but just didn't have the conviction for a second leg to occur before, of course, it actually did. After taking that little tiny 3.4% profit to the long side there, then started in and transferred over to TradingView to get in a potential paper short. Called this a little bit of a double toppy range here at this candle. It was decent enough volume. I thought that was going to be a rejection. Started in short, but sure enough, 2 minutes later, got stopped out there as it pushed with strength to a new high. Then started in again on another short of, that's the whole thing with these paper shorts is there's zero repercussions for getting these entries, but it's just being a part of the process and identifying, okay, is this actually a potential top here? And I thought this one was going to be close enough of 2.5, somewhere around there, getting filled into this little top at that range. It starts to sell off, and a few orders ready to go at 2.4 if price was going to touch there off of that high as, again, a similar type of just looking for the move to happen. That is the move that I was looking for. And sure enough, if it happened 2 minutes, 3 minutes later within a short time frame, that's awesome. That's the specific trade. But those limit orders didn't get filled around 2.4, and sure enough, it forced me to cover again as it broke to new high there. And then trying it again as it just continued to ride to new highs there. 2.8 shows some struggle, getting just above 2.75, I think, for another paper short entry. And 2 minutes later, breaking to new highs, and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to choose curiosity over anxiety and trying to say, oh, I got stopped out again. It's 3 times in a row. Wow, wow, woo is me. But then sure enough, again, it breaks to the upside of that little high there. But that was me covering into the high of day for the candle that was. And yeah, glad it wasn't real money. But again, I'm thankful for the learning lessons that it did provide. I don't want to say that had I held all of those positions, I would still be greatly in the money. And especially for having held this top one that, as we're getting more parabolic, the less likely that it's going to continue to go. Like famous last words, look at any DWAC, CEI, AMC, GME, of the higher it goes, the less likely it's going to continue to go higher. But that's the same thing with all of shorting. Shorting is timing. It's just knowing that perfect time and being a part of the downside and making sure that confirmation is actually there for the trade to actually happen. But then it comes at the result of, okay, what if it's too fast, then you might not get filled and you might be chasing sell-off action there. So it's just a continual process of learning and understanding. Reading the tape, I think, is a huge part of that as well. Level 2, time and sales. Just continuing on of putting in the reps, and it's going to take a lot more failure before I certainly feel comfortable or proficient at taking these for that style of trade, for a morning, shorting into a morning spike or parabolic top on these types of trades, and being able to withstand, okay, we broke to a new high. How much more am I actually willing to let this thing go? Am I always just going to continue to maintain that high of day risk level, or would I have to adjust and say, yeah, I'm kind of willing to let it go to break to new high and give it a few more cents after that to not be faked out? So I think there's many variables to discuss there on that. But great dip and rip opportunity. If I was going to maintain, look for even more percentage move beyond that, beyond just what I took it for, even taking it to 10%. I think Chris nailed it awesomely for a little 10% move there for what he had. So awesome little trade, even in that of itself. But yeah, lots more room and work to go on that side of it. That was CLVS. We'll get into LGVN now. Man, absolutely slam dunk this one a lot. I'm going to show trades here to see if they pull up, just to show the size quickly, to pause it for my sake of just the individual size that I was taking on these little tiny candles themselves, and then take those away just to kind of clear up the chart here. But yeah, here we are again. I didn't really go hard into the fundamentals on CLVS, but yeah, LGVN, American Biotech, 4 million float, super low float. Newscast today was peer-reviewed study of Alzheimer's. I think a pipe warrants exercisable at $17.50, which is only like 1 million shares or so. And I wanted to be short bias, similar to how CLVS and just the overall mentality of, hey, let's look for these first screen day short opportunities on there. But from LGVN, what it did on the 29th of November, 2021, 29th, or what day was that? Okay, so this was actually the 22nd of November 2021 that it just went berserk. It started skyrocketing itself. So respecting that type of price action, looking on here on the daily for that, what it did. And now back to, bring it around. Back here, what it did on that specific time frame. Respecting the power and ability for it to do that, and looking for that as a long. But sure enough, yeah, this entire morning session was just kind of a wash. Nobody really winning either way. pretty terrible thesis for, this was the first little, in pre-market, this was a little VWAP bounce type of trade. I was looking for, hey, maybe we bounce off here or fake out a few little shorts as it tries to break a little bit further below VWAP, but then trying to reclaim or maybe come close to a higher day here. But sure enough, it stopped at low day. On to the next trade of taking a little long bias trade as it was craziness in that first minute candle. Don't really expect anything or any trend to be set within that. But then as the second minute comes, we get more volume coming in and it's holding. I'm thinking this could be the last opportunity of the day. Don't want to make it a FOMO trade, but as I was realizing, okay, it's falling short of that $10 level. That was going to be the key, obvious psychological level on the day there for where we opened on the morning. But as it's just kind of holding, and I'm in that little trade of whatever. I think that was not my biggest share position of this ticker on the day, but in that little trade, then I realized, this is not a trade that I want to be a part of, and I've made a mistake for my entry thesis. I'm kind of been caught up in just the huge amount of volume and huge amount of excitement for this trade. Okay, I'm going to cut it for whatever it does. If it goes and starts spanking to the upside of here, then whatever. Then I didn't plan for that. Actually, I just kind of lucked out. So cutting myself short off of there, taking whatever that little percentage was. But then again, applying that same thesis of, okay, now we're holding again. We're holding above VWAP. Now we're testing with strength. We're going to get to the upside of $10 here, playing in very nicely for wherever we opened, sold off, and then buying in with strength. We get the awesome push above $10. We get above 10.10, and then huge sellers come in and start to slam that thing back down. How many times have I been a part of that before? Not insanely reflected in the volume, but did get the time and sales level 2 recorded on the screen today too. So that was awesome to see, or that'll be awesome to reflect upon on Trader HQ YouTube channel there. Yeah, got the push and sell off there, but then it really failed to just continue to break to new lows. So then that was even encouraging me more. Okay, I think I want to actually double my size, because I think as it's failing to just, as shorts are looking for that huge death candle, and obviously any sellers that were already looking to be selling in just above that $10 for a similar type of pattern like that now are going to be even more so people are going to be encouraged because of this huge rejection and volume coming in to step this thing, anticipating that new breakdown to new lows. But as we're going into that next minute candle and it's holding and just really failing to do so, actually buying the top of this specific candle, sure enough, before it just sells off and breaks not only this little regional low of 942-ish, but breaks to VWAP. And sure enough, before I got into my second or third entry in there, would break to a new low after that as well. But gosh, yeah, this one I just don't even know. And this moment of reflection, it's just a lot of, there was a lot of confusion on my part, I think, of what I was just trying to scrape together at the last minute of trying to throw a trade together. And really the only trade that I can say was worth putting skin in the game or worth the risk reward was this consolidation hold here of this level 2 time and sales. And that's what I was alluding to with CLVS of, gosh, it's these types of ones are just so almost too good to be true. You're like, this is just too obvious. There's, I think, too many factors to be involved in for how quickly this thing can just go against you should it break that low day there. But then even as a short, too, I wouldn't be establishing a short position in this little range either, looking for that move. So it's just this, everybody pointing guns at each other, just wondering who's going to fire first or where price is going to end up taking it. But yeah, still certainly as a long, should that probability of the trade start to confirm itself and it begin to reach these specific key price levels of VWAP once again, and then start to test and accumulate and get higher back against that $10 level. Those are the types of trade confirmations that you want to see for this little dip and rip trade, and perfect timing in that same thing too. So many factors lining up for it, the low floatingness of it, the former runniness of it. But sure enough, it gets that little quick wick off to take out all of the longs and the stops that were along with me still sitting or putting their stops at that low of day. And I was thankful that I think I had my stop at 901 exactly, so I was able to get out before a huge panic sell-off and get filled way lower. I was sure enough recovered instantaneously after that and begin to hold again. This candle breaking that initial low, but still maintaining the new low of day set in by these two candles. And sure enough, having a nice little spike and trade opportunity there, putting in a higher low off of that, gets another little push, not to a new high of day, but still to a higher high than what it just put in recently there. Still selling off and kind of sketching out, getting further and further away from the morning session and morning volatility, but the opportunity certainly was there. And even this beautiful, I could so see Tui coming in with a small cap recap saying, looking at this perfect little wedge chart and saying he was getting an entry here around this price range, which was 220-ish time frame. for another trade, another leg up of the move there on this specific chart today. Great opportunities. Certainly can't say that it wasn't there. It just wasn't in what the time frame that I was looking for, and stuck to my guns. Fixed my mistakes when I made them. Cut losses quickly when I saw they were there, and learning and progressing as always. That it is what it is. FWBI, this are, I think all of these ones are the paper ones now. FWBI, first screen day play. American Biopharma, 12 million floater. News catalyst today was they got an upgraded price target from Goldman, if that's even a real news catalyst. Not a huge amount of cash that they have left. They got warrants exercisable at $10.70, $8.50, $1.26, which is only like a 1.4 million shares, $12.10. They got convertible stock at $7.70, $7.50. They got an HC Wainwright ATM, and they got equity line. They have a shelf, and they know how to complete an offering when they need to. So it's insanely heavily manipulated, and it's all about the pump and dump, baby, with this company. Even showing, this was what I had for November 30th, actually on FWBI, showing the pump and dump scheme that it had on this day of very nice, beautiful, voluminous first screen day that all of market hours was just a sell-off. So really, I don't think that I've ever seen something like that chart following along extremely similarly of the same sentiment, that during market hours there was just no amount of push upward. If you're not even counting that first minute candle, it was just all sell off the whole time, and easy sit as a short. So getting in paper short within that first minute candle, looking at that rejection as that little perk higher, that morning spike to be shorting into, and having a nice little easy ride down, comfortable ride down that allowed me to look at other charts and not be so worried or focused on this one. Getting the last cover here, as it was just completely dead, not going to go lower really anymore, other than using that barometer as the previous trading day's close as the level of, okay, now we're just kind of returning to the mean of where it was trading originally. They had their little pump and dump, they had their fun opportunity to get out, and now it's just kind of a ride back to reality. So getting a nice little opportunity on that one. It's unfortunate on these ones that this one's so easy, and me being able to pull out, of course, it's paper, but 13-14% on a trade like this, absolutely awesome. But it just came so easy that it doesn't even factor into the other losers that I took, of the mental energy and capacity that I wasted on those ones versus the ones like this that are just like I pushed a button and it just made me money, like it printed money. Sometimes it feels like that, but of just how, like, that's how you want winners to feel, right? Like they just work. And you can just sit there and you don't have to force anything or babysit them so incredibly hard. But how these can sometimes slip through the cracks of important trades to focus on and put an entire career on trading, looking for charts like this of nice and easy rides to be able to sit and be a part of, and not having to make such incredibly rash decisions. Like even me trying to think of covering, like it doesn't have to be a rash decision. There was no test of my entry price anytime throughout the day. How many times I've seen charts like this similar to before, of how many charts in the database I have for this morning dump setup, looking for that pullback to VWAP after that initial spike, looking for price to fail to maintain VWAP and selling off into that and covering wherever my little heart desires, man. Beautiful trades like that. They just need to be at the forefront. Easy, beautiful A+ trades need more weight than just as I need to be putting more weight as compared to how I traded them mentally. I think they deserve differently. I think that's a great little reminder for me of, just because one specific trade or one specific instance involved more mental capacity from me doesn't mean it was something that deserved that. And that in my review, in my studying after the day and pre-market planning and after hours preparation, that should be reviewing and going hard on these setups, even though they came so easily and kind of just all work together in a flow, that they should be the ones putting more focus on because they were so easy. I want to be part of more of these. I don't want to be part of less of LGVNs and just struggling and fighting to be a part of the correct move and find the right price level and being stopped out too quick and quickly getting reversed on, man. I mean, these types of trades are kind of where I want to be, for sure. CELZ, so I can say A+ for execution, A+ for idea. These are the ones. CLZ I'll get into now. First screen day move. Again, we had a recent move on this bad boy a few days ago. Had that fourth day move. First screen day, actually, on what day was that specifically? I think that was the 23rd of this month there, and then a big move on the 28th. Today being the 31st, last day of the month. Had another news catalyst today, whatever it was. Super low floater, I think it's an Arizona company as well. which is interesting, funny to see. Morning dump pattern there for sure. Getting initial spike, failure to maintain VWAP. Still can't short, obviously, but good sign to say, hey, this pattern may offer some opportunity. Once again, just looking for this quick move of price to fail to maintain VWAP and just continuing to sell off after that initial unsustainable parabolic move to the upside on whatever news catalyst was there. Again, carrying that same short mentality of looking to short into a morning spike or any amount of resistance or just a rollover after a parabolic move. Really did not expect much out of this stock today, especially with all of the previous ruffling up that this stock had in the past days of how that can kind of taint the pure and innocent beauty that these first green day moves can have when they've just been so death and dying for so long. Then all of a sudden they have this huge opportunity that it's all fresh eyeballs in these stocks as compared to potential tainting of it with other overhead bag holders that would screw over the price action, or more people that are saying, oh, this is one has been up a lot more recently. Okay, I'm going to be buy more. Just messing up a little bit of the natural flow and just putting in a different little schematic for what the potential move could be today. But regardless of identifying, I thought we were getting a little move into VWAP there, sell off. Did not get short in this initial one here. I think I was still watching other tickers. But then as it had that little perk again to the upside of VWAP, I viewed that as a little bit of fake out with big volume there. So getting short into this third candle that did have a little breakdown, but held to higher lows and then pushed to, I think I covered a little bit too soon, a little bit preemptively at 4.3. Did have another perk with big volume to the upside of that, but it just didn't go hugely against me. And it didn't go really anywhere for a clean or awesome profit target from where I was getting entry for where my entry point was for the short. So yeah, was kind of altered from what I initially came into the market day expecting out of this ticker today. But I mean, that is the market in general, is doing something different than really what you thought a lot of the time. So being able to adjust to that on the fly and understand, okay, hey, this is something different than I expected. Let's readjust, reevaluate, cleanse the palette of my position and bias that the position holds, and get after it. Continue to understand what's going there. So that was just CELZ. Give myself a D for the idea. Just really wasn't anything as the chart ended up showing, or really in comparison to what I thought it was going to be. A D grading and C grading for execution. Can't give myself any props or nods of disapproval in that regard. Last one I want to mention, IGMS. Yeah, third day play for that crazy mover on that first screen day. Pretty terrible entry point for the specific trade that I was looking for. That came into today looking for. And it should have been a play off of this little bottom here that was this 25.5 level. Beautiful little sell-off, not the most voluminous, not the most beautiful spread on this ticker today. But man, holding decently after it had a little sell-off, opening green on the day from where it closed the previous day, selling off to red, holding just under there, gets a little bit of volume, comes in, steps it back above VWAP, just slowly starts climbing. And then that whole time, I'm still just kind of debating, oh, well, is it actually going to be a move, or is it just kind of a little, we're just kind of fiddling, pitzing around. And sure enough, I end up getting a top fill as I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to miss the move. It's just going to go exponentially hard without me. But I can't knock myself for that specific price, because even still seeing where it developed, it sold off a little bit after where I got my first entry. But this consolidation still is looking pretty nice to me for where we're still green, but still in my mind of plenty more room for this thing to start running and testing some shorts on the previous trading day and also on that first green day. If we started to hit some bids, hit some asks that we could light some fires there and get some fireworks going on this one today. But just did really not have anything else going for it. And cutting, I want to say that my risk, had my entry been closer to here, had my entry been developed in that consolidation, I could still be risking that low of day. And still holding this thing for potential if it has a fourth day move of going anything into tomorrow for it being Friday as well. But yeah, just was not in the works. And this was when I was running low on cash too and thinking, okay, do I really want to take an entry on this trade? And for what I talked about yesterday as well, of picking and being part of not just looking at a chart and thinking I have an idea and saying, okay, well, let's test that idea. Even if it's small size, we have to be testing ideas, right? Versus what I need to be doing more is saying, okay, I have an idea. Is it really worth putting a trade on? Is it an actual trade idea, or is it just an idea on the chart of saying, oh, I think this stock could go up. Oh, I think this stock could go down. Just because I think a stock could go up doesn't mean I should be getting long. Just because I think a stock could go down doesn't mean I should get short. In the same light of, I need to be picking optimal risk reward spots, and I need to be picking good trade spots, not just getting long when ever the wind comes that I have the feeling, that gut intuition, I need to be getting long this thing, but I need to be like a sniper looking for that precise exact moment to be taking the shot. That's the weight that I need to carry with these specific tickers and trades. So idea for that initial trade that I was looking for what I can see now in hindsight so clearly, a BA great for that idea, but for what I was looking for and how I was trading it, man, DF for how I was holding out, and execution-wise, D itself too, for how I was getting totally slippaged, just stupid little entries and exits, and not managed well for what it could have been and what this chart was today and what it could be tomorrow as well. That is really all I had. Nothing hard on the scanners that I've been doing as of yet. Still maintaining, of course, still looking hard for still doing the future strategy very hard with that first minute open, looking for 2 points above, and also the daily session strategy, looking for 10 points above there. Both of those working very nicely today. We're going to continue to do the same thing with MES contract on the daily session side and the 1 ES contract in that 9:30 open time frame there. Those have been working beautifully. Going to continue to pound away at those. But other than that, it is just all I had. I might think pretty heavily pretty soon of maybe sizing in more cash to the shorting account again to be able to start taking stabs at those, or at least be looking into the short locate fees, to be using that as another indicator, but just also going through the motions of that for knowing that that's going to have to be a part of the process as well when I do start shorting these once again. But that is all I had. I sincerely thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.